We'd love to have more. It's a more than your kind of thing. Second, if any of you adults think that kids are lovely and fun and you want to come hang with us for even a part of the lock-in, we'd love some more adult hands-on tech to help out with different tasks and to be just helping out and making a friendly face there. So I have this sign-up sheet that I'm going to pass around. There are some shifts for certain tasks, if you want to do a certain task, or if you just want to say, I'm willing to help however I can, put your name on here. I think we have enough grown-ups, so it's not like it's critical. If you're not really a kid person, it's fine, pass it along, that's okay. We need kid people for this. So I'm going to pass it around. If you want to sign up, please go ahead. And any questions, see me.
Good morning.
Morning.
I will be holding a wellness class on the 18th of May. A wellness class is part meditation, part yoga, part reflection. Don't worry, I won't have you twisting yourself into a pretzel. But please do come, it should be a good time. Oh, after church.
After church. Okay. This is on behalf of property. If you see, you have a nice little yellow sheet in your bulletins, and that's we're trying to find different ways to get things done slowly. I know for the last cleanup they had, there were really nobody outside of a couple property people that showed up. So instead of trying to do that, trying to remember, you might mention it today, oh, it's Saturday, but you forget it's on Saturday. They're looking at, think about what you can do. Anything on this list, there's a huge list. Some of the stuff is not on there, but if you can do it, write it down. I believe there's a thing next week to put it in, right? Is that correct?
Put it in the offering or give it to me.
Put it in the offering or give it to Joe Zedi in the back, and we'll work it out with you when we can do it and that kind of stuff. But like I said, it should be a lot of fairly easy stuff. It's just we want to make sure we look good, and don't have plaster falling off the walls and that kind of stuff. Okay, thanks.
Anybody else, Lord? All right, I have two announcements myself. June 21st is the Hunger Rumble. The sign is in the back. It's with the wild-looking vegetables. It's a 5K run walk. We call it Project Concern Community event, so we want everybody in the community involved. If you haven't gone down Lake Drive and looked at the marquee in front of City Hall yet, you should, because the Hunger Rumble is on that marquee. It's really cool. There'll be a banner on Packard Avenue by the library here next week, so hopefully you can do that. The other announcement is June 8th is our Project Concern benefit concert. It starts at 2 o'clock. I do have commitments from, we'll have St. Mark's Choir and St. Mark's Bell Choir and St. Mark's Brass, but also East Wind has committed. Grace has committed her flute ensemble to come in, and there will be some, I know that Danielle Zeeby will be playing her piano solo. So it should be a good time. It's a free will offering at the door. You can bring canned goods or some non-perishables as well, so it's up to you. Hope to see you then. The third thing is, as you know, Jenny and I are representatives of Project Concern, and if you haven't been over to the St. Fred's Catholic Church, there's not much left of it. All the windows are gone. Everything around the windows are gone. I believe tiles are gone. The abatement should be done within a couple of weeks. We're looking to have the building to start to tear down beginning of June, and hopefully the hole will be filled in by November. Come November, you're going to hear a big, huge campaign for Project Concern so we can get the new building up, and I hope you guys all participate in that. So thank you for listening. Be patient with my sermon this morning. I had a good time at the other church. They were very nice to me, and hopefully it'll go a little bit smoother today. So let us worship. Please stand.
Every
of my soul. O my God, in you I trust. Do not let me be put to shame. Do not let my enemies exult over me. Do not let those who wait for you to be put to shame. Let them be ashamed who want only treacherous. Make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me. For you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all day long. Be mindful of your mercy, O Lord, and of your steadfast love, for they have been from of old. Do not remember the sins of my youth or my transgressions. According to your steadfast love, remember me, for your goodness' sake, O Lord. Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore he instructs sinners in the way. He leads the humble in what is right and teaches the humble his way. All the paths of the Lord are steadfast love and faithfulness for those who keep his covenant and his decrees. For your name's sake, O Lord, pardon my guilt, for it is great. Who are they that fear the Lord? He will teach them the way that they should choose. They will abide in prosperity, and their children shall possess the land. The friendship of the Lord is for those who fear him, and he makes his covenant known to them. My eyes are ever towards the Lord, for he will pluck my feet out of the net. Turn to me and be gracious to me, for I am lonely and afflicted. Relieve the troubles of my heart and bring me out of my distress. Consider my affliction and my trouble, and forgive all my sins. Consider how many are my foes, and with what violent hatred they hate me. O guard my life and deliver me. Do not let me be put to shame, for I take refuge in you. My integrity and my uprightness preserve me, for I wait for you. Redeem Israel, O God, out of all its troubles. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
The Holy Gospel according to John. Glory to you, O Lord. Our reading is from the last chapter of John, John 21, verses 1-15. After these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples by the Sea of Tiberias, and he showed himself in this way. Gathered there together were Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and two others of his disciples. Simon Peter said to them, I'm going fishing. They said to him, we'll go with you. And they went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Just after daybreak, Jesus stood on the beach, but the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to them, children, you have no fish, have you? And they answered him, no. He said to them, cast the net to the right side of the boat, and you will find some. So they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because there were so many fish. The disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, it is the Lord. And when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on some clothes, for he was naked, and jumped into the lake. But the other disciples came in the boat, dragging the net full of fish, and they were not far from the land, only about 100 yards off. When they had gone ashore, they saw a charcoal fire there with fish on it and bread. And Jesus said to them, bring some of the fish that you have just caught. So Simon Peter went aboard and hauled the net ashore, full of large fish, 153 of them. And though there were so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, come and have breakfast. Now none of the disciples dared to ask him, who are you? Because they knew it was the Lord. And Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the third time that Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? And he said to them, yes, Lord, you you know that I love you. And Jesus said to him, feed my lambs. The gospel of the Lord. I've been through this month, so it should be a little bit better. I had a great time at the other church. There were about a dozen, maybe 18 people there, all very friendly people, all very attentive, so I hope I get that from you too. I started out with a little background. Most of you know me already. I don't need to do too much. I was born in Peoria a long time ago and was raised there. I was the youngest child of 3, so I got away with everything. And if he was listening, he would know that. The first one are the mistakes, the second one are the corrections, and the third one gets away with everything. I was married in 1982 to Kathy, who passed away in 2008 from cancer. We had 2 beautiful children from there, Emily, my daughter over here, and Kevin, who is also a musician. I moved here in 1980 after I graduated from UI with a degree in metallurgical engineering, which I don't think you can get anymore. But I ended up putting parts in Rolls-Royce turbine engines for about 20 years, which was interesting, but I got tired of the office politics and I became a school teacher. And in 1999, I got my first teaching job as a first grade teacher in the Racine Unified School District at Olympia Brown. So after 17 years of teaching 7-year-olds, I finally retired. In 2011, I got remarried to Melinda, that most of you know and have met. And we've been married now 13 years, almost 14 years. So very happy. Pastor asked me to do this during one night choir. He kind of hid his way, sat down next to me and asked me if I would like to do a sermon. And I'm like, well, okay. During Good Friday, just before the service, the choir was up here in the pews and we were all kind of squished into each other. And it was kind of like he tapped me on the elbow and goes, psst, you want to do my other church too? So here I am today. My focus today is not going to be so much on John 21, although that's part of it. What's going to be focused on is all of the resurrection stories that are in the Gospels. And that's all 4 of them, except one, and I'll get to that in a second. We'll go through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and compare them. Now, Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called the Synoptic Gospels because they were kind of written with each other in mind. We can figure that they all kind of knew each other. And the story goes that Mark actually wrote it first, and then Matthew and Luke took John's Gospel and used it as part of their own. Nobody really knows for sure. I also read that Matthew wrote it first, and that Mark used it. So, but the nice thing, synoptic means that they're very, very similar. John sits out here somewhere else, and I'll get to that too. You heard some of it today. He was the one whom Jesus loved. I think Jesus loved everybody. He was the first one that got to the tomb because he outran Peter. Okay, so you get kind of where John's coming from. He had 365 fish, or whatever the number was. I don't know, did John count them all? He tends to exaggerate. But we'll do that by comparing them. And I want you to listen to each one of these gospel readings and determine what the main message is about all of them. There's a theme that runs through them. But the nice thing about these is that these resurrection stories only appear one time in each one of the Gospels. So Matthew's resurrection story is different than John's, and it's different than Luke's. Interesting. So we'll get it started. I'm going to start off by reading out of the Revised Standard Version. This is a Bible that I got when I was in elementary school, when I got brought into the church, and this is the Bible they gave me. You can tell that it's kind of getting used up in here. We're going to start off with Mark. Mark was not a disciple. How many people know how many disciples actually wrote the Gospels? Does anybody know? He was here on Wednesdays. 2. Matthew and John are the only disciples that actually wrote the Gospel. Mark and Luke were not disciples. The background on Mark is they don't really know too much about him. They figure that his mother had the Jewish Christians, not at the time. The Jews were meeting at their home, and Mark was part of that, and Jesus was also part of that. The story is, or things that I've read, is that Mark was the boy who showed up naked Jesus was praying in this Garden of Gethsemane. And the one that ran off was supposedly Mark, but it doesn't say that in the Bible, so I don't know. But let me get through this. And what I mentioned before was Mark does not have a resurrection story. This is from Mark 16. And when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome, and Salome was John's mother, bought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And very early, on the first day of the week, they went to the tomb when the sun had risen. And they were saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the door of the tomb?" And looking up, they saw that the stone was rolled back, for it was very large. And entering the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, dressed in a white robe, and they were amazed. And he said to them, "Do not be amazed. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him? But go, tell his disciples and Peter that he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him as he told you." And they went out and fled from the tomb, for trembling and astonishment had come upon them. And they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. That's where my mark ends. We'll come back to that at the end of my speech here. So that jumps us over to Matthew. Matthew wrote to the Jewish Christians in Jerusalem, which is something to keep in mind when you write a book. And I think Emily knows a little bit too. When you write a book, you have to have a target audience. You have to, if you want to sell your book, you have to have a marketable item. So Matthew's audience was the Jews that were in Jerusalem. He has two resurrection stories. One is in Jerusalem. The other takes place in Galilee. And to give you a perspective, Galilee is 60 miles away from Jerusalem. So if they were to meet Jesus in Galilee, it would have been at least a week's hike to get there. This is from Matthew 28, verses 1 through 10. Now after the Sabbath, toward the dawn of the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the sepulchre. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone and sat upon it. His appearance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him, the guards trembled and became like dead men. But the angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has risen, as he said. Come see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him. Lo, I have told you." So they departed quickly from the tomb with fear and great joy, and ran to tell his disciples. And behold, Jesus met them and said, "Hail!" I don't know, I didn't know Jesus was Roman. Isn't that something that you would hear on Ben Hur? Hail Caesar? I don't know if it's my interpretation, or if that was actually the word as it's transposed. It just seems like a funny word. Now, people back in those days probably knew something about spirits. You had the Transfiguration, I'm sure that word got around. You had Sodom and Gomorrah, where the angels show up. You had the angels show up to Abraham. So spirits and ghosts, visions, apparitions, whatever you want to call it, weren't unusual. Now, if I was walking around and I saw a ghost, I would certainly react the same way that these people did too. I don't know if I would tell anybody because they might think I'm a little Lulu. But I think hail is a great word. The second encounter is in Jerusalem, or is in Galilee, and it goes like this. Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain to which Jesus had directed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and said to them, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, to the close of the age." There's one of my messages right there. Our next encounter with the resurrection story is in Luke. And Luke was a physician, and I said this the other day, because all good starships need a physician. Both of his stories take place in Jerusalem. So, the uniqueness of each one. Luke's target audience, he was trying to present Christ as the Son of Man. And there's a difference between the Son of Man and the Son of God. If you're familiar with the book of Daniel, the Son of Man shall come down from the clouds, the leader. And so that's how Luke is presenting him, as a man who comes down and helps people. And his first resurrection story is on Luke 24, verses 13. That very day, two of them were going to a village named Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking to each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing together, Jesus himself drew near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And when he said to them, "What is this conversation which you are holding with each other as you walk?" And they stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, named Cleopas, answered him, "You are the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened there in these days." And he said to them, "What things?" And they said to him, "Concerning Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty indeed, and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and rulers delivered him up to be condemned to death and crucified him. We had hoped that he was one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the 3rd day since this has happened." Moreover, some women of our company amazed us. They were at the tomb early in the morning and did not find his body. And they came back saying that they had even seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but him they did not see. And he said to them, "O foolish men, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory?" And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them all the scriptures and things concerning himself. They did recognize him, but then he disappeared. The other encounter is again in Jerusalem, and Cleopas and his buddy, whom we don't know, finally got to the disciples and decided to tell them what they had seen. As they were saying this, Jesus himself stood among them, so he just kind of appears. But they were startled and frightened and supposed they saw a spirit. And he said to them, "Why are you troubled, and why do your questions rise in your hearts? See my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me, and see, for a spirit has not flesh and bones, as you see that I have." And while they still disbelieved for joy and wondered, he said to them, "Have you anything here to eat?" And they gave him a piece of boiled fish, and he took it and ate before him. Now, you would think if you passed away and you came back in the flesh, would you be hungry? Would you go to your friends and say, "Hi, everybody, you got something to eat?" I think that's a really funny thing to say. I mean, Christ could say almost anything, and he goes, "Do you have anything to eat?" The last one is John. John has 4, not to be outdone, he has 4 resurrection stories. It takes across 2 chapters. The first 3 are in Jerusalem. The last one is in Galilee. John has different ways of doing things. As I mentioned before, he's the one that Christ loves. He's the one that got to the tomb first. And you get to the end of John, Peter even questions whether John should be a disciple. Now, I don't understand that paragraph, but it's there. John tends to exaggerate. 153 fish. You think that they sat on the beach and counted all of these fish that they probably caught? And the other thing about the passage here that we read this morning, which I find hilarious as well, is that they're out there fishing. They caught 150 fish, and Christ already has fish cooking on the beach and says, "Do you want some?" Now, I know we share the meal here, and this is a big part of our life. It's a But again, did Jesus have a fishing pole? Where did he get the fish from? How did he start the fire? We just accept that there's fish cooking on the fire, but there's no real person telling you this is how it happened. But I'd like to start off with John 21, verses 9 through 7. John 20, verses 11 through 23. But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb, and as she wept, she stooped to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white, sitting where the body of Jesus had lain, one at the head and one at the feet. They said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" And she said to them, "Because they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." Saying this, she turned round and saw Jesus standing, but she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom do you seek?" And supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." And Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. And Jesus said to her, "Do not hold me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brethren and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went and said to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." And she told them that he had said these things to her. Then on the days that follow, actually it says the evening on that day, Christ shows up in a locked room. Now this is the story of Thomas. Thomas was not there. Okay, Christ tells them, "Get out there, do your job, do what I taught you." But Thomas wasn't there. We got the doubting Thomas, and that was last week's story, actually. So the next two encounters have to do with Thomas. The last encounter takes place in Galilee. Verses 9 through 7, and that's what we read today, but they forgot to be the most important part. So I'm going to continue that. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" And he said to them, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And he said to him, "Feed my lambs." A second time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And he said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And he said to him, "Tend my sheep." And he said to him the third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Peter was grieved because he said to him the third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." And Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep." Now, why Jesus asking 3 times? I mean, we know 3 is kind of a number in the Bible and things like that. Isn't really the point. And I don't really believe Jesus was talking to Peter. I think he's talking to us. Whether you believe Christ, there's lots of conflicts here. Christ was raised in the flesh. He showed us that there's life after death. That's an essential part of Christianity. But Christ was raised in the flesh, but we know that when we die, at least our bones are left behind. Christ in the flesh appeared through locked doors. Now, just imagine that. Is that even possible? Christ was able to disguise himself, to cloud men's minds, as the saying goes, and then reveal himself. You can debate these issues all you want, but it's not the main message of the resurrection. The main message of the resurrection is to go out and do what Christ asked us to do. You have the love of Christ in your heart. You have God's love in your heart. You have divine love in your heart. Your job as a Christian is to go out and help others. You can do that a lot of different ways. You can volunteer. You can help a neighbor. You can shovel snow for someone. It's very simple. So, as a conclusion, I think that's something that we should all do. And you can start by coming to the Project Concern benefit on June 8th. But I just want to conclude in a couple of famous saying by a very famous person. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Back to Mark. The New International Bible and a lot of other Bibles have a second ending to Mark. It's called The Long Ending. I'm not sure who wrote it. I don't know why it was inserted. It just seems that the people who wrote this didn't like the fact that Mark just quit. That was the end of the story. So they added some to it. And I want you to listen to this because you've already heard all of these stories that I just read to you. This is Mark 16, verse 9. When Jesus rose early on the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had driven 7 demons, and that's news. She went and told those who had been with him and who were mourning and weeping. When they heard that Jesus was alive and that she had seen him, they did not believe it. Didn't we just hear that story? Afterward, Jesus appeared in a different form to 2 of them, along the side of the road, perhaps, while they were walking in the country. These returned and reported it to the rest, but they did not believe them either. Later, Jesus appeared to the 11 as they were eating in a locked room. He rebuked them for their lack of faith and their stubborn refusal to believe those who had seen him after he had risen. He said to them, "Go into the world and preach the good news to all creation. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned. And these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name, they will drive out demons. They will speak in new tongues. They will pick up snakes with their hands, and when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them at all. They will place their hands on sick people, and they will get well." After the Lord Jesus had spoken to them, he was taken up into heaven, and he sat at the right hand of God. Then the disciples went out and preached everywhere, and the Lord worked with them and confirmed his word by the signs that accomplished it. And I believe that's what we should do too. So in the words of a very famous man, I'd like to read, where to go? There it is. The measure of who we are is what, where to go? The measure of who we are is what we do with what we have. Does anybody know who said that? That's a Vince Lombardi quote. But I'd like to finish up today by reading my favorite Bible verse. If you're confused as to what to do and how to do things in Christ's name, this is it. This is from Micah 6:8. Micah is an Old Testament prophet who got this decades before. He has shown you what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God.